What is up, everyone? Emperador Maximiliano. I'm here again with Andre. Andre, good morning, sir. How are you?
Up. Good morning. How are you?
Good. Watching this market, some wild moves going on right now.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to look at these with you. Maybe do some live trading and some
Yeah.
analysis this morning, and then of course any new things from your side of things. We're always excited to see. Let me
Yeah.
get. Let's jump over and get your screen up there big for everyone to see.
Perfect.
And I know you've got some stuff you want to show us. And then, of course, we do have the market opening here in about, 3.5 minutes, we'll call it. And
Yeah,
we'll see what's going on.
for sure. So I know I've been talking about this new update for a little bit. And the most efficient way to do it was pretty much to rebuild all of edgeful, which is unfortunate, but we want to make sure we do it right so then we can scale it. We can build on top of it. And the current structure that we had didn't really suit some of the functionality that we're adding in. So this is actually the internal version of the new site that we've been working on. So one of the things, and I'll pull up edgeful right now, but like the current edgeful, where'd it go? One of the things that the biggest pieces of feedback that we've gotten is that this report section here is just very difficult to navigate. Like it's hard to see like what's what, and it's a little bit overwhelming to try to just go and approach and go through the reports to actually find what you like and what you don't like. So our solution for this is to build a page that's very familiar in the sense of like an e-commerce like experience, where you have, and you think about like Amazon, you have your filters on the side, and then you have each of these cards appearing here, which would be like the results of your filters. So think about like if you're looking for a vacuum cleaner on Amazon, you filter for 5 stars, you filter for wire, like cordless, and then now you know that everything in this like middle area is 5 stars and cordless. That's what we have here. So
just looking at this already, I mean, it just looks really clean. And that's one thing I already like just looking at this is how clean it looks. And that multi-view right there that you've got pulled up on our screen, that looks really nice, clean, easy to use. Not saying that it's not easy to use now in its current state, but as you guys have grown, which we talked about this last stream, that it's only been like a year really since you guys really launched.
Just under a year.
And as it's grown and that that list of reports just keeps getting longer and longer. And I mean, you guys added the favorites tab, I remember at some point last summer, which was nice. So you can kind of, if you guys have your favorite reports that you like to get to quick, it's obviously nice to have that. But I'm excited for this. What are we calling it? Edgeful 2.0?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's edgeful 2.0. I feel like it is a pretty big like design overhaul, and it's definitely had a lot of refinement on our end. Now, we're trying to keep a lot of the functionality the same, just so it's not like a very jarring change to our like long-term users. Like we don't want them to have to relearn how to use it. So a lot of the functionality is the same, which is nice. We're just trying to add in like little things to make your life easier, to make it like, obviously edgeful as a whole is number one, to give you the data that you would not have access to. Number two is it updates every single day. So you don't have to be an analyst. You don't have to go and like worry about like maintaining like everything being correct. If you don't have to go and buy the price data, like you don't have to do anything. You come in, you open it up, you see what's what, you see what's setting up, and like that's pretty much it. Hey, there's a gap fill setting up. I'm looking at the what's in place section, XYZ, I'm going to take this trade. And everything that we want to do is to make it so all you have to focus on is the execution of the trade, not actually finding what the trades are.
I'm watching the gap fill right now, filled right here at the open. We opened at yesterday's close. I mean, we're dead even basically. And as soon as, I mean, I heard the bell going off. I don't know if that was your bell or somebody else's.
It was my phone.
Yeah, I heard the opening bell going off, and as soon as the what's in play, you talk about live data. It's supposed to be 1 minute delayed. Andre, you got me that in 3 seconds. The gap was filled.
Yeah, it's not actually 1 minute delayed, but Sorry. I just give me 1 second. Someone's
You're good. Yeah, go for it.
Expecting, so I'm so sorry. I'll be right back. If you want to pull up like the charts, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you're good. Here, I'll throw up my screen over here. This is what I was talking about with the gap fill right here. Somebody ring the doorbell. You gotta love when somebody rings the doorbell and you have immediate chaos when you have a little friend in the house, a dog. But this is what I was talking about. This gap fill automatically filled. So that already, as far as what's in play, we know that that's off the table for today.
Sorry.
And when I look at this, yeah, you're good. I was just I was showing them. I was like, right here, already off the table on the gap fill there,
yep.
And you can see it very quickly.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because some of those, sometimes when the gap fills really quickly, like the probability is super high, but you have to be like pretty much like a sniper to get it. So personally for me, if it's super close, I'm probably just not going to take it because I don't want to have to, like, my risk to reward is kind of skewed, because then if price goes against me, I know it's going to fill, but I don't want it to go like really far back before it starts to fill. So in a case like today, I just won't take it.
Yeah, let me throw back to your screen here.
Yeah.
Oh, no, my face is giant. We don't want that. We want, there we go.
Perfect.
All right, back to your screen over here. We'll put it on the side there. Perfect. All right, so yeah, I was telling the chat, I was like, you gotta love when you have somebody ring a doorbell. If you have a dog, if anyone that's ever had a dog, if that doorbell rings, it's pure chaos for about 45 seconds every single time. It never fails.
100%, and it's super annoying. For some reason, it's like as if someone's breaking into the house, but whatever.
It's good. It's part of it. It's good though. That's a good thing. All right, we were talking about the new design, some of the new visuals and organization of all of this stuff. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, so right now we have these. So like when you open the report dropdown, we have like chart patterns, and you can see the reports for chart patterns. Market open and close strategies. You can see the reports like kind of grouped by these little labels. Now we've maintained those same groups right here. So you can see right here, this is the chart patterns right here, market open close strategies. And what's nice is that here on this page specifically, you can filter for specific report types. So I can just click on price action, and now I know that everything I'm looking at is price action only. I can check volume and then uncheck price action. Now I'm looking at the volume reports. So like, with like practically an instant, you can see everything, and you can also see like kind of what it's measuring really through these little graphics. And then I can go and I can look at the indicators too. We don't have again, so everyone knows, this is the internal site, so we don't have everything loaded in here. Like the data is not correct in here. It's just like all like pre-filled like filler data.
I just took a trade based off this data. What are you doing to me? No, I'm just. No, that makes perfect sense. You know, when you're building something out, you're given a visual of it. But great call out there to make sure. Now that is live edgeful, right?
Yeah, this one to the right,
that one is live, but the other
not
one
on edgeful.com.
Perfect. Yeah, we're just showing that for the example here. Okay.
Yeah, this is in a design environment that nobody has access to. So just don't worry about it. Everything on edgeful.com is correct. Everything in this like new version is like just filler. But this like report discovery, pretty much like if I go to all here or I click on price action, now if I only want to look at, for example, if I want to remove chart patterns, now that those reports will go away. If I want to look at if I want to remove performance tracking and range and trend analysis, now I know I have my market open and close strategies, I have my session analysis, and now I can see everything that I want to look at on one page. And now when I click on this little explainer button, this is one thing that I think will be really helpful for people, is every single report is going to have a 1-sentence explainer on exactly what it does. So in this case, for the gap fill, you're going to see that the image is going to be a lot bigger, so you can actually like read what's on it. And then you can see down here, it says, what does this report measure? This report measures how often price today touches the previous session's closing price. And this applies to all of them, like an outside day, we have the same thing. Power hour breakout, we have the same thing. This report measures how often price makes a new high or low of day during the last hour of the session. So now if you're interested in that, you can add it to your bookmarks, or you can just go straight to the report. So from here, I can just go to the report, and now I'm on the gap fill report.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so straight from that page, you can just go straight to the report, and everything is going to be pretty similar. So right up here, you're going to see obviously like what you're really familiar with. So I'll just change this to be the 100%. But from what you're familiar with, the typical structure, graph, table, the actual breakdown of the table here, the videos, the chart explainers, everything is going to be very similar. And to the right, we've actually consolidated. Can you see me? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, that was my camera's now gonna go crazy on us this morning. We're gonna have some technical stuff this morning. How about that? That'll be fun.
Let's keep it interesting.
That'll always be fun.
And then to the right here, we have the explainer text. So we're kind of grouping all of the data piece on the top and then all the explainer piece on the bottom, just so it's more uniform, because like really once you know what this report is, like you don't need all the explainers, so we don't want it really sprinkled throughout. So now you have all of your data right together on one page. And the nav bar is just moving over to the left side. So it's very similar to the way that we have, where it's like right now, obviously it's on the top, but now it's just shifted over, now it's vertical. So you can pick future, you can pick stock, Forex, crypto, futures. You can pick your ticker like right here. It's exactly the same. Report type, still the same. You can actually still choose any of the reports from this dropdown. So we're not taking away the ability to choose a report on that report discovery page. So it's the same exact experience, except you just get an additional page to explore a little bit more. The sessions, again, are the exact same. Now, we have moved these sub-reports. So I'm sure you use the by size a lot, you use the by weekday a lot. Those are going into the number 7, choose the sub-report. So here,
okay, sub-report, okay.
Yeah, so this is where
I'm following along, seeing this as you, I've heard little pieces of this, but seeing you like walk through this, because that's one thing, like on the gap fill, going to the gap fill by size, that's where like, I love going straight to that first thing in the morning, which obviously this morning is a bad example because I
think your camera...
My camera's all over the place. I know.
It doesn't matter. I just wanted to tell you.
Yeah, we're having some technical issues here, but either way, no, being able to go straight to that sub report and get there quickly, because I like to see what's my stats. Like the gap fill, I think is the perfect example. I know you like this report too, but being able to see, okay, what's the size of my gap, and then what day of the week is it? That's my second favorite one.
Exactly.
So like I can quickly within that. I'm watching you do this on the new interface. I love this because I can go, okay, I want to check gap fill. Gap fill's in play. What size is it? Okay, now today is what, Wednesday? So okay, well, what's it look like on Wednesdays? And so then I have both of those stats, and I can see, okay, are they both very strong? Is one of them maybe an out? Oh my gosh. It's gonna be one of those days, isn't it?
It's gonna be one of those days.
At least yours was just a dog. Like now I'm having technical stuff. We're just gonna have some fun this morning, but
it'll be good.
Well, it's just zoomed in on my beard now. How about that?
Yeah. A legendary beard, I got to admit. I wish I could grow one like that. I can't.
It's the new star of the show, I guess, is just a beard. We don't need my face.
Yeah. So what we've moved, so that pretty much like, and this is another thing, is like we've outgrown a certain design. Is the gap fill, for example, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sub reports. So let's say we want to add another 5 in the next few months. It's not going to fit up here anymore. So that's why we chose this drop down. That's why we chose this drop down here, so then we can fit as many as we want. So people can make their requests just to say, hey, I want this, hey, I want this, hey, I want this. And we don't have any limitation in terms of what the bubble, like the actual space that we need. So we can have as many sub reports as we want. So it's just gonna be right here. And then now this piece is actually pretty important, is we've moved this customize button. And I think this is definitely gonna take a little bit of getting used to. We've moved this customize button to to be right here on the side. So in this case, like, you know how you can look at the half gap stats, or on the orb report, you can look at the different like orb size, meaning like 5 minute, 15 minute, 30 minute. That's going to be right over here. So you click on this. Now you're going to have your same exact settings as we're going to have here. The same exact thing, except instead of being right here on the top of the report, it's going to be off to the left. So, I mean, everything is the same. Everything is very similar. And one thing I know for you is you like the speed. And right here to the side is your bookmarks, and we've added a watch list. So I know that you trade equities and you trade futures. So now I'm looking at ES, I'm on the futures, but if I click on Tesla right now, it's going to switch me to stocks and then immediately to Tesla.
That's perfect.
On this, and now I've switched to stocks and I've switched to Tesla, and you can see obviously with smaller gaps on Tesla. I mean, well, again, this is the design environment, so ignore the actual data here. But yeah, so I just switched from ES to Tesla in one click. So now the way that you'd have to do that here is I'd have to click on the futures, I'd have to click on the stocks, I'd have to click on a ticker, I'd have to type out Tesla. On Tesla.
No, the speed just like increased 5x at least by having that. Yeah.
So, and then the way to add and to remove things from your watch list. So now I'm on stocks, but then if I want to go to crypto, I'll just click on BTC, and now I've switched over to crypto and I've added Bitcoin, and now I'm looking at Bitcoin.
Okay.
And the way to do that right here on the top, this watch list, is where you can add and remove stuff.
Oh my God.
So if I want to type in like NVIDIA, for example, I just go and I add NVIDIA. Now NVIDIA has been added. I can go back. And then even from here, I still have my...
We're still having fun over here. Sorry. I just looked at it. It was just like, I don't know. But no, I'm watching this. I'm watching you go through it all as well. And so my first thoughts on this, and for anyone that uses edgeful, you're probably thinking the same thing. You're thinking, okay, this looks like the changeover, the learning curve is going to be very easy to figure out. Like it doesn't look like I'm going to have to go in and relearn edgeful at all. It looks like it's going to be a very quick turnover to this new version. But the point you just made, I think, is huge, especially for us traders that trade quickly, because if I'm trying to get from one report to another, and if, for example, I look at QQQ, but I also trade the futures. So if I'm trying to go from stocks to futures, and then it's one thing to have like your favorite report or whatever on there, but to get to ticker. So I'm having to change from, like, I can right now I can bookmark my favorite report. If I want to jump over and say, okay, well, I can quickly get to gap fill, I can quickly get to the orb stats. But to get from ticker to ticker, from group, I guess we'll call it, it's futures, like stocks, crypto. And then plus I'm already looking at this, Andre, and this may be the idea behind it. But my brain's already looking at this going, okay, when I open up edgeful in the morning, if it's 30 minutes or an hour before the market, I'm doing some of my pre-market prep, I can build that watch list out for the day. If I went through on a Sunday night and charted out a bunch of things that I liked, I can build this out on Sunday night or Monday morning going into the week and saying, hey, here's my actual watch list of what I'm watching to trade. Boom, it's right here with all the data and reports that I want to watch with it. So boy, I'm already, don't get me fired up right here on a Wednesday morning. I'm so excited about edgeful, I don't even care that my camera's messing up today.
That you and I think we had a call. It might've been private. It might've been on a stream. I don't really remember, but I remember that you were talking about the speed and that how everything is very fast paced. And that's something that I've really kind of kept in mind in terms of building out these designs. So instead of having, even for like the current edgeful, you have to be in your favorites tab in order to get the quick view. Like you can't be in price action and then also see your favorites. Here you can be wherever you want. You can be on any page throughout all of edgeful, and then on this sidebar, you get all of your reports. So for example, if I'm on the gap fill right now, and then I want to go to the previous day's range, I can just click on previous day's range. Now I just jump over to previous day's range. If I'm in the watch list page and I want to look at the previous day's range report, from this page, I just click right here and it takes me there. And this is something that we want to make sure that like people have that ability to like move quickly throughout edgeful. And another thing that we're going to just, again, for that ease of use, for that quick navigation, is we're also adding the what's in play up top here. So the way that you see the what's in play, I mean, it's going to look a little bit different, but, and I know that I've shown this design a few times, but just so you have an idea of what it will look like is, and I'm going to move this. So your gap fill what's in play is going to appear right here. So if you're on your gap fill report going through Tesla, NVIDIA, ES, and Q, you're going to actually see all the stats on each of the reports. So not only is it going to be on the what's in play page, but it's also going to be on each of the report pages. So then you'll always have it kind of like everywhere. So you don't have to be like stuck to one page. You don't have to be married to one page, because you'll see everything when you're anywhere on the site, which is really nice.
Okay. The wheels are turning in my head watching this, because I'm envisioning what it's going to look like while I'm trading. And I love that. I love that you've essentially, so like right now when I go to what's in play, and I've got it pulled up over here still on my other screen. When I go to what's in play right now, that's what I'm seeing. And the version you just showed me already had basically the report stats there. Like I almost don't even need to go to the report itself. Like it's now in one spot. So
exactly.
That's a big thing too, because if I'm scrolling through and I have, the orb stats pulled up and I've got maybe the ADR pulled up, I can, instead of going to the report page, I can actually see the stats, which right now you've got, what's the last 5 times it's happened and the basic stats of it, but I can see way more right there. Is that going to be customizable too? Is that going to be, or not customizable, but like as far as changing by size or changing, the sub reports?
Yeah. So what we're going to do is, for the what's in play, we actually used to have a by size and by weekday. So we used to have the report where it would tell you on Wednesdays for gaps between 0 and 0.19%, these are the stats. So like super narrow. And what happened was, if it didn't set up that many times in the last 6 months or in the last year, like the actual frequency was very low. So like if it only set up 3 times and like 2 of the 3 filled, like it's just like really not that much data to go based off of. Like if it's 2 out of 3 or if it's like 3 total times. So what I mean, in my opinion, and this is not like something that everyone should go based off of, but in my opinion, the size of the gap is the strongest indication of whether it's going to fill. And the second one is the by weekday. So if there's a huge gap, it doesn't matter what weekday it is, in my opinion, I don't think it's going to fill.
That's why I go there first, because if I see like a 1% gap up, like I immediately am looking at that, I'm measuring it, and I'm saying, okay, I don't care what day of the week it is. I don't care what the general stats are on gaps for SPY or QQQ. I'm looking at that. I'm immediately starting to rule that one out, because I know how poor the stats are. I'm going to go check them either way, because especially you get that fringe, like that point, was it like 0.6 or so to 0.8, that range, those stats are a little bit, in the middle. But whenever I see that range to bigger, I'm starting to rule out, okay, this is probably not something I want to look for. And I love that. And I love that I could see that in that what's in play type of section.
Yeah. And so it'll be where in the beginning, like when we release this, the new version of the what's in play. So again, it's going to be a more consolidated view. Right now there's like a lot of scrolling that comes with it. So like in this case, like this whole section is just for the gap fill. Like it doesn't have to be that big. We can definitely clean it up, and that's what we've done. So right now it's like a lot of scrolling just for 4 reports, but here it's a consolidated view, and you're going to get 2 views. This is the consolidated one. This is not going to be, you're not going to see any of the actual stats with it on this view. But then if you were to click the expand button right here, that's where you can see each of the stats in a full row. So like in this case, you would have clicked expand. Now you're looking at the gap fill report. You can still see the streaks. And then this will actually be the by size. This one here for the gap fill, because that's the most relevant, to be honest. But this one will be the by size variant. And then that's where you can say, like, make that decision of like, okay, I'm going to take this trade. I'm not going to take this trade. But you'll always see whether there's a gap up, the gap size, everything else. Like,
I love this multi-view, by the way.
Yeah.
I absolutely love this. We talked about this a little bit, and I'm sure you've heard it from some other traders as well. But you know, instead of scrolling from one to the other, but having, you know, one was the customization, being able to pick which ones go through here, and the other side was, okay, just consolidating this and then being able to just flip views real fast and get a more zoomed in or a more detailed approach. I absolutely love this. Like, I think I feel like I say this every stream, but edgeful is still new. We've said this, so it's been around for a year. A big revamp is coming to like take it to that next level, but it's always changing and getting better. And I think it's fantastic already. But seeing, and I told you this, seeing the sky is the limit for this thing as far as a real, I mean, a tool that I think can take anyone's trading to the next level, because there's so much that you can put on. I mean, I almost don't even need to have a bunch of charts up, and I don't need 14 monitors, because I can have so much data in one environment right here with this what's in play.
Yeah. I want to show you something that I don't know if I've ever shown you before. And this is the very first version right here. This is like an actual picture that I took of the very first version of edgeful ever. Was this. It was fully functioning.
Is this built off of Excel?
I mean, it was the most bare bones. Like, we didn't actually, I don't think we actually launched with this version. I mean, this was like in January of last year. We had a functioning version. You can look at like
this was your template version. This was your, how do I take your year's worth of data that you had built in those Excel charts that were overflowing, which I know the backstory, and you've told me that part. You've told me about all the Excel sheets. I don't know if I have seen this actually, where you first. This is connecting the two dots for me right now, from what you built on your own, where the foundation of edgeful came from, the idea of edgeful came from, and then how you obviously I saw the first product that came out. I don't think I've seen the stepping stone in between. That's really interesting. And for those that maybe you're just joining, that is the backstory, right, Andre? That you essentially built all these reports. You had all this data on Excel, which you must be one of those Excel wizards. You probably probably know every shortcut, every little hot stroke.
I can use Excel without a mouse. And the way that I actually learned that was when I worked at this hedge fund, and they would train you on Excel by taking away your mouse. So you had to learn all the shortcuts and this was the logic for it, which I thought was just absolutely insane. But the logic is, if you have to take your hands off of the keyboard to reach for the mouse and scroll to to go click a button, and then take your hand off of the mouse back to the keyboard, that might take 2 seconds. But if you have to do that 500 times a day times 365 days, that 2 seconds adds up to like a day.
Yeah, it's like a day's worth of productivity. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the amount of time that you're saving by learning all the shortcuts is like, for them, is like time is money. Like, we want you to make sure that you can like get all of the, like, be as efficient as possible. So they're like, okay, we're going to train you with no mouse, so you have to figure out what's what. And like, you don't need to learn really everything, but once you know what you need, you're good. So I'm like, you always for the most part, use the same type of functions over and over again. But yes, this was my Excel was like, this was a functioning website version. Like, this is like after our CTO actually built the first version with no design. My Excel was like inside of Excel. Like, this is a full functioning like website. I mean, full functioning is a stretch, but full functioning website. Like, it was accurate at the time. And then if you see here, this is a very old version of edgeful. Like, this was like the first version. I used to demo this on calls. I used to show people before we launched this site, and I would show them the design on the side and be like, this is, here's the functionality. And then
here's what it does. Here's what it's going to look like. I promise.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, looking back at this now, I mean, people must have been like laughing at me about like how ridiculous this looked.
No, it's awesome because now you're taking version 1, the launch version, and you're showing me version 2. Like, so you talk about a full circle right now. So seeing a year ago you were showing this to what we currently have. Now you're showing what we currently have to what it's going to be very, very soon, right, Andre? Is that
And
is that accurate to say?
I would say in the next like 2 weeks for sure.
2 weeks. Hey, you're setting those are quick timelines right there. You're setting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I want to make sure that we can. I know I've been talking about it for a while, but I want to make sure that we can get this out to like traders so they can start to take advantage of it, and they don't have to worry as much about that learning curve with the current edgeful. So I want them to be able to experience and like go through the reports and like find stuff on their own, because I mean, as you know, like most traders, you only need one or two, or I mean, not one or two, like 3 to 5 reports, but you have to find them. Like just because like you talk about it or I talk about it doesn't mean that that's the one that's going to fit for everyone else. So we want to give everyone that opportunity to find what like suits them. And then the easiest way to do that is for us to release this new design. Like this is the one that I want people to see. Like even to me, to be honest, this version is like so outdated because I've been staring at this new one for so long. But yeah, pretty crazy.
Well, I'm excited for the new one. I'm excited to see how it works. I mean, and by the way, if anyone's curious about what's going on in the market right now, we are chopping hard. If you look at a 5-minute chart, it's been up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. We're basically at the same price we opened at. So we're not missing a whole lot either. I mean, if there's any like live trades or anything that I see, I'll definitely call them out for everyone. But, you know, I don't know. What are your thoughts on today as the market? I mean, it seems like when you have a big outsized move, maybe we need a report on this, Andre. We have a big outsized move like we had yesterday, a trend day. I don't know how you would fully define it, but I feel like there would be a way. But when you have a big down day that just trended straight down yesterday, opened, closed at the lows, opened high, closed at the lows. You look at that, you go, okay, typically you have some type of either retracement or some type of inside day, right? That's kind of the standard most traders look for on a day like today. Plus we have FOMC minutes later this afternoon. So we'll have the potential of getting into a lunch chop, which it looks like the chop may start earlier than I wanted it to. I was hoping to get some decent opportunities this morning before kind of pulling back until we get that we could get some fireworks this afternoon. You never know with those minutes in the Fed.
So one of the things I was actually thinking about doing a report like this, and I don't know what measure to use. I was thinking like if obviously yesterday exceeded the ATR, and if yesterday, like just thinking out loud a little bit, if yesterday exceeded ATR and
what's the chances of the next day doing it?
Like if it exceeded ATR in a certain direction.
So
like, let's say it exceeded ATR to the downside. How often does the next day close green or red? Because we do have the ATR, where is it? The ATR.
Under indicators,
Yeah, so we have the ATR by streaks report. And what this says is if ATR is exceeded yesterday, what is the likelihood it's going to get exceeded again today? So like back-to-back massive moves.
Interesting. What is that? Will you put that on QQQ or SPY, either one? Because I feel like Tesla could be an outlier. Yeah, look much different stats. So I mean that's telling us right there that when you exceed the ATR, the next day you have a high chance of respecting it and staying inside of a range. And that's very interesting. And I wonder if you could double off of this and say, okay, if you exceed an ATR, does the next day close as an inside day or stay within the previous day's range? Almost like connecting a couple reports there. That would be an interesting way to approach that.
We can figure something out with that, because this to me is a very interesting like when you see a move like this, and this is not data backed, this is just like my gut, like my like intuition says, I'm not expecting another big move today. I'm actually typically going to be expecting more chop than anything else, because I feel like so many people made money yesterday and so many people lost money yesterday that people kind of are stepping back, whether it's because they made a lot of money or because they lost a lot of money. I'm not expecting another massive move again today. It's pretty rare. I mean, even just based on this report, it is pretty rare to see multiple like back-to-back ATR exceeded days, which is right here. So it only happens 30%, just over 30% of the time. So it doesn't mean that there can't be a decent move, but it means that you don't want to expect price to like exceed ATR.
Yeah, you're not going to expect it to just continue down again, you know, the ATR again. And most likely you're not going to expect it to retrace the entire move. At least I don't. And that's just, you know, from trading experience, right? But it seems like we talk about trading experience. We talk about, well, this is the narrative I think is going to happen. But a lot of times we try to get away from that with the data. So it would be interesting to be able to put the data there. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it, Andre? Because sometimes, you know, you have kind of like, okay, here's what I think is going to happen. Here's kind of my thesis based on what's been going on in the market. And then you look at the data and the data is like, yeah, that makes sense. And then there's other times where you're like, well, I think we're probably going to do this. And then you look at the data and it's like, well, it's actually like I went over this yesterday. We broke the previous day's low on QQQ and SPY both. And I did a video on this earlier this week that I put out on my channel. I actually put it out night before last. So before yesterday even started. And so yesterday when that happened, I said, hey, hope you watched my video. If you didn't, go watch it. Do your homework because the stats are so strong when you break a previous day's range that you're not going to get big reversals. And I was actually telling that to our group. I was telling it to people on Spaces. I said, look, you know, if you try to get long down here off of some support, or if you see some type of reversal type of signal, that's great. But what are your targets? Do not look for this thing to reverse back green. I can give you the I mean, I've got the edgeful stats right here. I can give you the data on this. And not only was it like an 80%, 81% chance that we would close red on QQQ once we broke that previous day's low, but when I was doing my video, I went back and looked and I was like, okay, what did it look like when we had the 19% of the time that it actually did, you know, reverse back? And when I looked, it was a 0.1%, the last example. So like, even when the data was, I mean, the data's strong, right? But even when the probability was low and that low probability happened, the scenario where, okay, we did break previous day high and we did close red.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and it was like so small.
Yeah.
Like it was like we broke previous day's high, but we ended up closing red, which is rare, but it was so small. I said, look at this. So even if you are saying, well, there is still a 19% chance that this happens. One, I don't want anything to do with that 19% chance.
Yeah. 100%.
But when that 19% chance happened, it was like we closed red by this much. I mean, it was literally with like 30 cents that we closed red. So once again, having the targets is a big deal. And so went over that yesterday. That was a really good example of this. And, you know, I literally said on my video like multiple times, it's like, people hammer. How many times have you heard this? Don't trade with a bias. Don't trade with a bias.
Yep.
And Andre, I think you're changing that with edgeful. I think edgeful has literally murdered that entire like idea of everyone says don't trade with bias. Don't let bias get you. Okay, that's true. But where's your bias coming from? Because if I have a data-based bias, this is kind of my new slogan for you guys that I just coined myself, I guess, on my video. Data-based bias. Trade with a database bias. Look at that. What's the other, the opening candle continuation one that I think a lot of traders are really, really enjoying that one. I've seen several other guys put out content on this one. It's seeing like, okay, that first 30 minutes is this direction. Look how strong the stats are that we close green or red that day. And using that. So data-based bias. So, hey, I think in 2025, I'm going with that. I think I'm saying, hey, bias is a good thing if you base it on data. And obviously that's where edgeful comes into play here. So set your daily bias, have a bias, actually. And I know that sounds so different than what I'm sure everyone preached that to you for a long time. That's what I've heard for my entire trading career. Don't get a bias. Don't get a bias. Okay. Don't, but also do with data, right?
Yeah.
Have the right type of bias.
Don't take a bias from like some Twitter thread, or don't take a bias from like your intuition of like, hey, I just think that price is going to go up today because I think so. Like,
that's my favorite.
It's not how it works. It's not how it works.
I think this is going to happen, so it needs to happen. No.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, that would be great if that's how it works, but it's just not how it works. And sometimes you have a bullish bias or you have a bearish bias, and like you just get stubborn with it, and you don't really know, or you don't identify that you've been so stubborn with your bias until you've like blown your account or you've wiped away a week's worth of gains. And that's where you can like open this up and just say, hey, if the first 30 minutes is green, over 75% of the time, 76% of the time, price is going to close green today. Then it's like, this is a no-brainer. Like, why am I going to just keep like trying to short and short and short if the first 30 minutes is green? It just doesn't make sense.
It's like
you so much money too.
Yes. So it's one of the other guys that works with Edgeful and puts out some really good content. He put out a video just talking about that in general and talking about staying out of bad trades. And I think you guys put out a tweet on this as well. And it's something that I've also preached on a little bit here, is the data and using Edgeful has kept me out of bad scenarios. So like when I do kind of get that, okay, we've broken to the upside, I want to short this thing. It looks like, I think it needs to come back down, whatever my thought process is. But I'm looking at it and I'm going, okay, but we broke the orb high. The first 30 minutes was green. We broke the previous day high. I want to short this thing so bad, but maybe today I just stay away from it. I think that's the option that doesn't get talked about enough is, okay, which trade do I need to take? No, which trade do you not need to take? Let's make that popular in 2025 as well. And I think what better way? And I know we're on an Edgeful stream. I talk about this all day, every day in every group that I'm a part of. Whether it's spaces all day long, whether it's in our Discord group or whatever it is. Yeah. Even in our group chat, I have a group chat with some great traders. We text each other. We mess with each other some. And we text each other ideas, or, hey, I'm doing this, or, hey, I see this. And that's one thing that I jump in that group chat all the time. And I'm like, hey, by the way, this, I want this to happen, but everything data-wise is telling me it's not going to happen. So I'm just staying away. It's not always being a trade. Sometimes staying out of, and that's where the difference I think comes in, especially if you trade prop firms, because you don't have as long of a leash. You can't sit there and take a whole bunch of losses. You can't take 3 or 4 shots at it. If you take 3 or 4 shots at a short on a day where the data is telling you to not really be short biased, you dig a hole real fast or blow an account real fast when, it's like, okay, what if I just don't take these trades today? How much more profit would I be holding on to? And how many less counts could I blow? I think that's a big key point there.
100%. And staying out of the bad trades, honestly, I'm sure a lot of people have heard about this, but trading is about making money, obviously, but it's also about keeping it and not
holding on to it.
Keep the trades. And most of the time, for anyone who's tried to, or who's taken a prop firm challenge or whatever, most of the time, the days where you blow your account, looking back, like once you've stepped away, you're like, that was so stupid. Like, I cannot believe I did that. Oh, I almost guarantee, I would say over 80% of the time when a trader blows their account, it's not on a good trade setup that they actually lost on. It's, I cannot believe I did that. That was so dumb.
Yeah.
And
get stopped out and take the same trade again. I tried this trade. It didn't work out. I'm going to try it again. I got stopped out. I'm going to try it again immediately. But what are you doing? Slow down.
Exactly.
But going on tilt is a real thing. And I struggled with it for a long time. I would do really good as long as, things are working out, trades are working out. I would do very well. I could easily pass those combines or eval accounts. And then I would get in a funded account. I'd be going to good. You may have a good 2 weeks, and then you get into a time where the market's doing something a little bit different, because the market's always changing. And I would have like a stretch where like I would just boom loss, and then I would like, okay, well, I'm gonna just make back that loss. Okay, well, now I took another one. Now I'm gonna make back both of those losses in the next trade, and then that snowball starts rolling. But looking at it and obviously putting data behind it, having the right bias of where should I be trading, where should I not be trading. That was another thing I talked about. There was a couple days we've had over the last 2 weeks where SPY broke the previous day's high and QQQ broke the previous day's low.
Yeah, which is nuts.
That is crazy. and actually QQQ won both of those days, which one of them was FOMC day. So like I don't even know if you want to count that, but the fact being is there was a lot of choppy action for at least 2 to 3 hours on both of those days, because it was like opening candle or first 30 minutes, you had SPY do this and you had QQQ do this. And when I took, your guys' report and I said, okay, wait a second. I look, I think the first step is, what trades can I take when I look at data and look at edgeful, right? But I think the next level that really would take a lot of people from here to here was I looked at it and I said, okay, wait, this report's telling me this, and this report's telling me this, which is completely opposite. I'm going to sit on my hands, and I did that, and I've actually noticed. I look back over my last 2 weeks, my last month, or just whatever time frame of profit, and I'm going. Here's our double break of the orb right here, by the way, just happened on NQ. But I look back on it and I'm like, wow, my overall results are much better, and I don't have that ugly red day in the middle of a bunch of green days, because I just actually set out for a couple of days or set out for a few hours, because I said, look, this market doesn't know what it wants to do. It needs to work itself out. And so I took one of, a report that I don't know if that was your idea or if that was one of the ones submitted by someone out there, but that report has helped me a ton by, okay, so which direction I need to be trading in. And if I see opposing, conflicting reports, hey, what a tool. Like, and that didn't click in my mind for months of using edgeful, was like, hey, I could use this to look at two different, if I see whatever, two magnets going opposite directions, right? Like they're just gonna sit here and do like this, and that's chop city. Stay away, just stay away. 100%. So finding ways to stay away from bad trades, I think, is just as important, and maybe a way that, like I said, it took me months to like put that together in my head. And hopefully somebody watching this is like, hopefully it's already clicked for you, but hopefully that's something that you can think about as you use edgeful, is like, hey, wait, I can use this to stay away from bad market conditions, I think would be the term.
Yeah. And then just in addition to that,
we are getting crushed right now, by the way.
Yeah, this is just nuts. But we're going to have this bias on here. So obviously this is in the design environment right now, what I'm showing, but this bias, if you see that, like, for example, half of them are bearish and half of them are bullish, just keep in mind of like what each of them are and what's going on with them. Because, like, for example, if your gap fill, your initial bounce, and your outside days are all bearish and you see a good setup, then like, okay, you can be bearish that day. Oof. But if one of them is bullish, the other one is bearish, and it's kind of like this like mishmash, then it's something you can be a little more careful. And that's what I like about this this bias.
Yeah, well, that makes sense too. And as people use this, they'll get used to it, because like for one, you may see gap fill says, okay, I should have a bullish bias, but once that gap fills, like that bias is done.
Exactly.
So it's like I'm looking for this gap to fill early in the day, most likely, if it's a strong gap fill stat. And then once that's filled, if there's other things telling me bearish, it's like, okay, that one little bullish within there was for the first part of the market. The rest of the picture looks like it's bearish. So that actually kind of gives you the better picture of, hey, this and then this. And I love that. I think it kind of paints a nice picture.
And that actually happened today. There was a tiny gap down. It filled, which is a bullish bias, and it did work. If you took it, it did work. So the gap did fill from like in a bullish move. But now, for example, the double break is in play. I mean, it definitely doubled. I mean, it double broke before.
Break, previous day low is broken.
Yep. So,
Oof.
I mean, maybe we are going to get a decent move today, but
we might we
yeah,
might get a
we might get a decent move.
continuation of yesterday. If anything, it could put one of those continuations of yesterday that ends up coming back into the range later in the day.
Yeah.
But at this point, previous day low broken on QQQ.
Yep.
Guess what I'm not expecting today? I think you already know the answer. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
not expecting this to come back and be a green day. And if it is, I think it would be a very slight green day. The only outlier, and I do say this a lot for people, the only outlier, of course, is if you have data, or not data. So if you have reports that say one thing, and then you have an outlier binary event in the market, obviously that can shift, but those are still part of the data. So like even the stats themselves, or they're based on every single day of trading in the market, right? No matter whatever you use. So FOMC days, earnings days, all of those things are 100%. Included in there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that's one thing. We're actually, a lot of people do ask, can I filter out certain days? So that will be coming later, which is funny you bring it up, but that will be coming later where you can filter out some of the data. But yeah, it's it does include everything. So it's important to kind of like note that. The one other thing is one of the reports that just today's like not a good example of this just because it did double break, but what we want to do, and we're actually going to build a report around this, and I know that this is something, this midline on the orb is actually something we added for you, but we're also going to we're going to build a report that measures, let me just do this quick. So we're going to build a report that looks at, one sec, how often. So what you can see here is you can see that I have my orb. This is yesterday. I have my orb, the green and the red. I have my midline, which is this gray one. So this is 50% of the orb range. So the report that we're going to build is for when price only breaks to one side of the orb. How often does it retrace back in based on the 25% retracement, 50% retracement, 75% retracement? And then so how often does it actually touch each of these levels before only breaking one side? So like being a single break day. So the way that you can use this is pretty much to say, let's just say hypothetically, there is a pretty high chance, which I don't know because we haven't built it yet, but there's a pretty high chance that price is going to touch the 50% retracement mark on a single break day, which means that it's not going to touch the opposite side. Then in this case, you wait for I mean, yesterday's not the best example because it just sold off, but you wait for the first break. And now what you can do is you can enter on that break and then put your stop on the opposite end. So like something like this, and then whatever, target whatever. Or if you want a better entry, you can wait for price to actually retrace to this point that let's just say is a higher probability for it to come back to and touch. You can enter around that area if, let's just say, the 75% retracement is a little bit lower probability. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you could. So like you get close to that midpoint.
I'm going to try to find a better example.
You could almost short. You could short the midpoint with the bottom being So right there. Go back a little bit.
These ones are double break days.
Right there. Okay, it is a double break. I was going to say this one right here, once it got back above that midpoint right there.
Yeah.
I know this isn't exactly what you're talking about, but that's like, okay, so if you got long there and your first target would be orb high again, and then your runners would take you beyond that. But I think that would be the general idea, but we need the better scenario with the data of, okay, it's a single break day. So we're probably not going to, especially as it gets like, later in the day too, I feel like would be part of this. I'm going
to find a decent example because it's actually something that a lot of people have asked for, but I just haven't been able. We just haven't had a decent idea to, like, nobody's asked for this specifically. Here's a good example.
Okay, yeah. There we go. And well, the problem is right now, obviously, the last 3 weeks probably we've had a fairly elevated VIX. So like, I feel like double breaks have been more common recently. and stuff going all over the place.
Yeah, and also just to answer that question that came in the chat, yeah, we have it for Forex, crypto, stocks, and futures. And that's for any pair, like literally anything across the board. But so here, this is exactly what the report is going to measure. It's a single break, so it only broke to the downside of the orb. The orb low is right here in the red. The orb high is over here in the green. So it did not break the orb high, only to the low. So in this case, what this report is going to measure, and we don't have it out yet, but price breaks to the downside, but then you want to know how often or how far back into the orb is it going to retrace. And now in this case, this blue line is a 25% retracement, which, because the orb here on ES is 24 points, this is 6 points. So this is 1/4 of the entire range. And you can see price did retrace back into this range. Let's say that the data shows that it's not very likely for it to touch this 75%. Now you can be here shorting in this area, expecting price to continue down. So the only thing you really have to figure out is like what weekdays have more single breaks. And then on those weekdays, these trades would have pretty much like a higher win rate, or like more, you'd be able to have more conviction on these days where you're expecting a single break. So now you can say, I'm not expecting price to get to this point up here or whatever it is.
So I'm thinking about this, and my brain's going one step further. I'm already thinking about the maybe the IB, because the IB, because the IB stats are for a double break are much lower. So if you get once you get one break of that IB, it's pretty sure it's like 80%, I think, that you're only going to break one side. So when I think about that, let's say you break that IB, but you have decent support or something, and something in the chart or the price action is showing you some retracement. That IB back to the midpoint, I would love to see like what stats are that. Okay, so we've had a single break of the IB, and we're starting to reclaim and move our way back into the IB.
Yeah.
Let's see. I mean, obviously, if it's a trend day, it's a trend day, and there's a lot of ways to figure out, to analyze and see what, are we in a trend day? But what I'm talking about more is, okay, we broke the IB to one side. I'm not looking for it to go back the other way. But if I do have something telling me that we're reversing, right? Where do I set my targets? Well, probably the midpoint of that IB would be a good target spot. And having the data around that would be a really cool report too.
It's funny you mentioned IB. I just realized that the idea was sparked because of the IB, and then because the IB and the orb are very similar, we're just building it for the orb as well. But yeah, so because almost 80% of the IBs only break to one side, in this case, this is yesterday was a perfect example of, let's just say that it's not very likely price gets to this midpoint. Let's just say, because I don't actually have the stats on it, but let's just say that it's not likely that price gets to this midpoint. Then this pullback is like maybe a good opportunity to add for continuation lower. Mm-hmm. Or it's something where if you want to like scalp a reversal, you can be taking in this area here. You can like take your targets at this 25%, or you just wait for the pullback after the first break, and then now you can expect more continuation down.
That is interesting. I know a lot of people use like ranges, and I like the indicator you guys have though, and it's got a report too. The like the orb by levels, or IB, and there's also IB by level. Obviously, orb and IB are pretty interchangeable for those that aren't familiar. Orb, some people use 15 minutes, some people use 30-minute. IB is that first hour, but you can kind of interchange the terminology almost in a way, because it's basically what happened in the first X amount of time of the market. How does that affect the rest of the day? I think it's interesting how many reports can be built off of that data and how strong the data is behind those. That's something that most people I don't think would have ever really thought of or known until something like this came around, until edgeful popped up. And it's not something I would have thought about, but I do know a lot of people will measure, and the fact that this does it for you, a lot of people will measure that orb range and say, okay, if our orb range is 100 points and we break out of that, if we move one range out of that, what is 100? It's 100 more points, right? So, but also, I've been watching this a lot on the indicator, and the amount of times it gets to the 0.5 or the 1.0, and at least runs into trouble,
Yeah.
It's obviously somebody is watching this, right? So
Yeah.
somebody that controls a lot of money is watching these levels and using this, and that's what me as a retail trader and most of us are looking for at the end of the day. It's like, okay, what is big money doing, and how can I get my piece of the pie? And that's the way I approach a lot of trading. And so this, I really like this one, and the data that goes with it. And I feel like what we're talking about is very similar to this.
Sorry. Someone else is at the door somehow.
Well, you're a popular guy over there.
Yeah, I guess.
Popular guy over there. Well, looking around the market, I'll give a quick market update while he's doing that. We have kind of a mixed bag. I mean, obviously we're down. We broke previous day's low on QQQ, so most likely going to at least close red today. We are currently red by just 0.3%, but not looking for a big reversal, kind of a back test here. But you never know. We'll see what happens. Mag 7 names, Microsoft is green, almost 1% green actually. It looks the best of all of them. Nvidia is still green. It had a sell-off, a pretty ugly sell-off, but it's bouncing around this 140 support area here. Tesla, Apple also green, and the rest of your Mag 7 and a lot of your other names are red. AMD had a price target downgrade this morning. AMD did. So AMD is getting absolutely destroyed, getting its teeth kicked in a little bit today, down 4.5%. But that's a quick market update. Obviously, QQQ down just 0.2% right now. SPY down 0.28%. A little divergence there, but interesting. It's interesting moves this morning. It honestly, I'm looking at this, and I'm kind of glad I'm not really trading this right now because it's kind of all over the place. And looking at the orb by levels report that we're just talking about, QQQ did get to that minus 0.5, which I use the 30-minute orb the most, but it did get to that minus 0.5, and that's where it's completely bounced very hard back inside of previous day's low. So interesting there. And of course on TradingView, these edgeful indicators, Andre's got it on his screen. Those that have seen me share my screen before, I have one chart setup that literally has just all edgeful indicators that I keep in a separate tab all day. So I have like my main trading tab, like 5-minute chart within Q, and then I have another tab open where I'll have previous day's range, previous week's range, gap fill, and then some type of orb or IB, usually by levels report over there.
Yeah. Honestly, these indicators are something that like we built for just like for convenience, so people can see like, oh, like they go to edgeful, they see, okay, these are the orb stats, but like, for example, I don't know how to plot the orb, or I don't want to misplot the orb, because what we're always very conscious of is people understanding what their data is saying. So we obviously want to make sure they understand. So these indicators were just like an add-on. They're just kind of, for us, like obviously it's like a huge, like there are full companies that just make indicators. Like that's all they do. They make TradingView indicators and they just sell the indicators. But we have edgeful and we have the indicators too. And just for anyone who's watching, like you can actually right here in support, you can request a custom report and you can also request a custom TradingView indicator. Like Emp actually had asked us to add the midline, like this 50% line, which on the orb right here. So if you go to the settings, you can see by default it's turned off, but show orb midline. And you can see if I go, let's just go to 1 minute so you can really see it. This gray line here is something that we added for him. And now everyone has access to it, obviously, but these are the types of things that you can request. So if there's something in edgeful that you like resonates with you, we can also build an indicator around it so you can actually see it on your charts every single day without having to really do anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so not only they'll build reports out, they'll build indicators out for you. And that's part of just being an edgeful. That's not like hey, I want this. How much is it going to cost me? No, this is part of being in the edgeful community at this point. Correct. So there's one package, very simple. You guys have simplified it down to where, if you want access to edgeful, you get everything for one monthly price. It's not what level am I? Am I this level? Am I that? everything in one spot, one monthly price.
Yep.
You can pay annually too. Can you
Yes.
still do that? Yeah. So you can
That's
probably
the
get
only discount that we will ever do, by the way.
Perfect.
It's 20% off for the annual pricing. That's it.
Yeah. So take that one time, save yourself some money and go ahead and pay it out for the whole year. But the point remains here that you're getting all of this as being a part of Edgeful, and then the ability to request your own report, something that fits your trading style, and you can get an indicator that goes with it. And I was actually shocked. I saw a video on this. The amount of time it takes you guys to build a report is impressive. I was expecting, if I requested a report to be built, I would be happy if it came within a month. Of like, hey, here's an idea. Can I get that in a month? Can I get that in maybe 6 weeks or 8 weeks?
Yeah.
What was the time frame that you gave out? I believe you were talking with James Bruce, and you gave out a time frame.
Around 2 weeks.
2 weeks. That's insane. That I can request a report to be built out, and within 2 weeks I can have access to that in my trading system.
Yeah. It's we move very quickly, and then once we get the new design done, fully pushed, we'll be able to move even faster. So more indicators, more reports, more functionality upgrades. It's the redesign, honestly, is taking all of our resources to do, but we move very quickly because we want everything to be tailored to what people want. And so we have this cycle. This is something we're very intentional about, is a new user comes in, they can schedule a call with me. My calendar is open 3 days a week. It's practically all day. So I have 30-minute calls back to back to back to back with our users. And from there, I get feedback from them. What do you like? What do you not like? What do you want us to change? What do you want us to include? What do you want us to exclude? Whatever. I take that feedback. I give it to our developers. Our developers build the new, they add the new stuff. The new stuff comes out, the users get on calls, and it's this cycle of continuous improvement. And that's why we're so keen on making sure that the updates come quickly, because not only does it help the user itself that's making the request, but it also helps all the other users. Let's say someone that's new, now you have all of these indicators, you have all of these reports, you have all of the assets that you can possibly trade. So now someone that's new comes in and they have all the tools they need. So it's a win-win for the person who's asking and for the new people, because all of the reports, for the most part, the majority of the reports, even the sub-reports or the customizations, are all by request. So it's not like you have to come into this platform and then say, well, oh, they don't have what I want. And then now I'm just that's it. I'm gonna, I don't really need it because they don't have something that fits my trading style. Because for us, we'll build it for you. So then it'll make it better for you. And by making it better for you, it makes it better for everyone else. And it's we're very, very specific and intentional about the feedback and making sure that it's what people actually want. We don't want to do stuff that just we're assuming things are people, oh yeah, everyone's going to love this. We don't want to do that. We want to actually talk to people, ask people. So yeah.
Yeah, what's the real life, real world application of it?
Exactly.
That, and I think that, just to brag on you guys a little bit, that's what makes Edgeful so great. Is there? It's not just hey, here's an amazing tool to help you with trading, which it is. That's honestly the big focus around this, but the product itself, the community around Edgeful, and the fact that it's built by a trader, this guy right here. The guy right below me on the screen, built by a trader himself, which CEO, but your founder, that to me is a big thing too. And those of us that invest, that's something we look at when someone found something and runs it. There's an inherent drive there to make it better and make it the best. But then 100%. Beyond that, it's the product gets better from the users. And there's very few scenarios out there where you get the user feedback and you build things for the actual users based on their requests, and it benefits everyone. I think that's a very unique scenario that you guys have. And I think that gives you a huge advantage as far as just the long-term capabilities of where this can go. So I'm excited about it. I know we're coming up on the end of time here. But André, I do appreciate you joining us this morning. I know I had some technical difficulties. We had some fun with your doorbell going off. You're a popular guy. Either you ordered way too much stuff off of Amazon, or
it's my wife actually. But yeah, it was both times.
Well, there you go. Like that happens. That happens to me a lot too. And we have a little yappy dog. My wife has. I don't have this dog, but it lives in my house. So, but yeah, it happens all the time here because we'll get Amazon will come and then Mercado Libre will come, which I know not everyone has that, but you've probably heard of it. But anyways, great stream this morning, Andre. I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man with all this stuff going on, and big updates coming. I'm very excited about the big updates. I do want to make sure everyone goes and checks out edgeful.com. It's no better time to get in now. I mean, I think you can say that anytime when something is growing and improving like Edgeful is, but go check it out. Look at this massive update that's coming out in 2 weeks. That is, 2 weeks. I mean, oh goodness. Hold on, quick sip. Frog in the throat. We're having fun on the stream this morning, but 2 weeks or so, big update. Get in now, get familiar with it. There's not going to be a huge learning curve. I'm already looking at this going, wow, this is not going to take me any time to adjust, but it is going to make me better as a trader. It's going to give me a further edge. Go figure, right? Like that's so funny. The edge aspect of this, edgeful, having an edge around the market, having an edge in your trading, and watching this and being able to use that same term and saying, okay, my edge is getting better.
The way that the reason we actually picked this name was because, like, you know, the word joyful, masterful, cheerful, it's just joy. It's just like it's joy.
Full of.
It's a full. So like you have an edge, and it's edgeful. So that's like the same. That's how we came up with the name. And the logo, actually, the eagle.
Let me ask you about that. Yeah, before we go real fast, where did the eagle come from? What's the backstory on the eagle? Because I love seeing that, and it's unique. You guys respond with that on the X posts and stuff. I see the eagle out there. Even when I see you guys post it, like an eagle sound goes off in my head. I'm like, oh, that's edgeful. Like whatever, you know, an eagle caw goes off in my head. Exactly. What's the story behind the eagle?
So one thing about trading is that it's one of the best ways to become free.
Okay.
And the eagle is an amazing representation of freedom.
Of course.
And we want the eagle to represent like what trading can give you. So like the freedom that an eagle represents is what trading can give you too. So like if you're in a job that you don't like and you want to get out, you want to have the freedom to travel, you want to have the freedom to make your own money, to work on your own hours, trading will do that for you. And that's why we picked the eagle as the logo, because it completely symbolizes freedom. And that's what we want to give traders through Edgeful, is to give you the tools you need to become a successful trader so you can have the freedom to do whatever you want.
That's awesome. I love that. And that's the goal, right? Most people are trading for the extra income and for the freedom, right? For the freedom of time, you know, not sitting on the charts every single day or being locked in, being able to take a day to go to your kids' play at school, you know, go to different events, you know, get away, do stuff outside of just a 9-to-5 job. So that is a perfect full circle little thing. That is amazing. Like that. I've always wondered. I just like, hey, that's a cool promotional thing, but I didn't ever know the story behind it. And I learned something new every time we jump on here. That's really cool.
It's really intentional. Yeah. The eagle, and it means a lot to me. And I think that I mean, I don't really talk about it so much, but yeah, the eagle is very important to us, and because of what it symbolizes and what we want to do with Edgeful for all traders in the world.
For traders, built by a trader for traders.
Exactly.
Love it. I love Edgeful. Love everything about it. Love what's coming. I'm excited about all this, Andre. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go. I know you've got another call to jump on here shortly. I've got some stuff I've got to get going on. I'm glad I'm not trading this because this thing's still all over the place. The market just popped back up. We're almost green on the day. We're right. We came into yesterday's close.
And then we're dropping.
And I almost shorted it. I almost said, okay, wait, well, I think this is, you know, the data tells me we're going to close red today. So maybe I just fade, you know, the previous day close up there near that gap fills area. But, and we're at VWAP on QQQ. Go figure. So I don't know. Stay safe out there. Remember FOMC minutes later today.
Market close tomorrow too, right?
Market close tomorrow for Jimmy Carter, former president's memorial service. There's like 4 Fed speakers tomorrow too, while the market's closed. We may have spicy open to the futures tomorrow night.
Yeah.
I'm going to be paying attention to it right there at the open, because you never know what may happen. And then we have a huge jobs report on Friday. So there's a lot of stuff going on this week. It could be very spicy data wise. Then we may hit a lull in the market until we hit earnings season, really kicks off next week. And then the week after that, you start to get some of these bigger names and the tech names going. So a lot of fun stuff coming up in the market, a lot of fun stuff coming up with edgeful. Andre, I appreciate you. We're going to shut it down with that. Thank you so much for your time.
Have a good one, man.
We'll see if another Amazon package shows up to your door. We'll see how many.
Hopefully not.
You may need to check the account and shut it down for a little bit. No,
awesome. I might have to shut it down.
Yeah. All right, everyone. We appreciate you joining. Appreciate you watching. Andre, take care. We will see everyone on the next stream. And with that, we are out.